Hello, my name is Dr. Bagley. You're probably watching this video because you're in my Math 203 class and you want to know how the weird grading system works. I've made this little presentation that will help to explain what's going on here. But before I get into precisely what is going on here, I'd like to talk to you about why all this is happening. So the reason that I'm adopting this sort of alternative grading system that's a little bit different from what you're used to is, well, there are several reasons. First of all, it helps you to focus on the right things. So instead of thinking about how many points am I going to get for this assignment that I did, it helps you to really demonstrate your own understanding of the mathematics that the assignment is about. It also helps you learn to meet professional quality standards, which I like better than this sort of points idea because it's much more like the real world. It also helps you to learn more from your mistakes instead of just like getting points knocked off and then you never learn about it. You don't look at the feedback and you just move on and then you make the same mistake again later. This grading system has revisions built in, which I'll talk more about later, that really help you to think through what you did wrong and figure out what the right thing is to do. Finally, your final grade is more meaningful. It really reflects your own personal understanding of the mathematics in the course. Okay, so with this sort of rationale in mind, let's get into the nitty-gritty and talk about what is going on here. So I'll start by talking about this 4-level scale that I have on which I'll grade most of your work. I call it the EMPX scale. So there are 4 possible marks that I might give any of the work that you submit in this class. The top mark is called excellent. That's the E in EMPX. Basically, if I could use your work as an answer key, you get an excellent. Okay. The most common mark I would say is called mastery. So this is the mark that says it's very clear that you know what you're doing. I know that you have demonstrated your understanding and your mastery of the material. So there might be some mistakes in this, and that's fine. Like in the real world, we make some mistakes sometimes. Maybe we add 2 and 2 and get 5. That's a thing that happens. But the mistakes are minor and they don't impair either the clarity of your communication or your ability to demonstrate your understanding of the thing that it is that you're doing. The next mark is called progressing. That's the P. The idea is that you're getting there, you're on your way, but maybe there are some important mistakes, something less basic than 2 plus 2 equals 5 or whatever. Something important that really shows me that you haven't completely thought your way through what you're doing yet, and I'd like you to think more about it. And then finally, there's X, which is there's not enough evidence for me to tell whether or not you know what you're doing. So maybe your work is incomplete. Maybe it's just too unclear for me to grade. Maybe it's irrelevant, something like that. So then the idea is that both E and M count, quote unquote, and P and X don't. But P and X are opportunities for you to revise your work, learn from your mistakes, and then you'll be able to resubmit it and get it regraded. So let's talk more about this revisions process. And by the way, this is like the key to the whole weird grading system, and it really does help you learn, and so I encourage you to take advantage of this. The idea is that anything that's graded at P or X that doesn't demonstrate your mastery of the concept can be revised and resubmitted within a limited time frame, which I'll explain more, which is that, there we go, you have 1 week after the thing comes back to you on Canvas, which is where all your stuff will be submitted. Your rewrites, and when I send something back to you, I include detailed comments on what it is that you're doing and things that I think will help you to think your way through what you didn't quite demonstrate your understanding on the first time. So then your rewrite must include some detailed reflection on the comments that I gave. And the reason for this is because that's really how you learn. If you think back on your mistakes and you say, oh, okay, I get it now, I see what I did wrong, that's really what helps you learn how to do it right. So, and when I say detailed, I mean that in particular, you must explain why you got something wrong and what made you change your mind. I will just point out before we leave this subject that past students that I've had in classes with this grading system have really appreciated the rewrite system. They've told me that it really helps them learn. And I would also give you as a piece of advice to work on things early. If you wait until the last minute, you won't have as much time to reflect on what it was that happened, and you won't get as much benefit out of it. Okay, so this is a complicated system, and I admit it. So what I've done is I've made a tool for you, and I call it the Grade Progress Tracker. Here's what it looks like. A little piece of it is covered up by the webcam. I'll be posting a link to this on Canvas so that you can see it for yourself. Basically, how this works is that you check off all these little boxes as you do things in the course. You level up when a big box is filled, and then that helps me to compute your final grade at the end of the term. Okay, so let me talk you through an example of what I mean here. So we're going to be looking at this top row of pre-class quizzes and in-class quizzes. So you have to get, what is that, 13 of them to level up into the D category. So, okay, the first day you take this pre-class quiz, then there's another one, and another, and another, and as you take more and more of them, you fill up that box. And then once you've filled up that entire box, you can sort of check off that whole box, like, yay, I got that box done. And then you start filling up the next box. So then after that, you would start checking off the small tick boxes in that C box there. And then here's how I calculate final letter grades. So you find the number of grade points that you've achieved in each of the categories. So D is 1 grade point, C is 2 grade points, etc., etc. You compute the weighted sum using the weights in the left-hand column of the grade progress tracker. And then you translate that number back into a letter grade. Okay, that makes no sense. Let me talk you through. So let's say that somebody had completed or gotten mastery or whatever on 21 of the pre-class quizzes, 36 of the online homework sets, 9 of the written homeworks, and then they got these following midterm and final exam scores. And then they did 2 of the video presentations. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to check off all that stuff on the grade progress tracker. So, and then we can compute their final grade. So here's what the grade progress tracker would look like. Please excuse my lovely marking with a mouse on a computer, which does not always look great. So you can see I've got 21 of the boxes checked off in that first row. And notice that 21 boxes fills up all the way into the B category. And then there's just 1 in the A category. So since that box is not all the way filled out, the number of grade points for that category would be 3, corresponding to the B. But then there's 36 boxes checked off in the next row, which does fill out the A category, and so we'll get 4 grade points there, and et cetera, as we go on down. Okay, so then what we do, like I was saying, is we look at the highest full box in each of the categories. And then we translate that into the proper number of grade points. So like I was saying, 21 pre-class assignment fills out the B box, and then there's just 1 more in the A box. So you will get 3 grade points for that category, and so on and so forth. So here I've added in that far left column the number of grade points that you get in each of the categories. And then what we're going to do is we're going to compute the weighted sum. So, okay. Pre-class quizzes are weighted at 5%, so we multiply that 3 by the 5%, and we get 0.15, et cetera, and then we add up all of those numbers, and let's see what we get. We get a 3.35, which if you look this up on like a grade point or GPA to letter grade table, you'll see that's like a solid B+. Okay, so one really important note that I want to make here is that if you don't fill out the D box in any one category, you can't get a passing grade. So a C- is the lowest passing grade. If any one of the categories on the entire grade progress tracker is, if the D box is not filled out, the most that you can get is a D+. This is just to make sure that you're doing like most of the work in the class. Roughly speaking, the D box corresponds to about half of whatever the thing is. And I figure that if you're doing less than half the thing, like, I don't think I feel comfortable passing you in the class. Okay, so that's my lightning overview of this grade progress tracker and the whole mastery-based grading system. I'm sure that you have some questions. Once you figure out what they are, shoot me an email. My email address is listed here. You can also message me through Canvas. It all goes to the same place. And I look forward to talking with you more and learning some calculus with you. Have a good day.